People sometimes mistakenly believe that good men are weak and that being kind equates to being soft. However, there is a huge difference between someone who is nice because they want to be liked and someone who is nice because they want to be nice. Sigma males frequently fit into the second group. Their generosity isn't motivated by fitting in or pleasing others, but rather by a conscious decision made from a position of strength. When they are helpful, it's not because they require something in return, and when they are respectful, it's not because they fear confrontation. When someone who is naturally powerful stops being kind, it's not an emotional response. Rather, it's a calculated removal of mercy. However, most people don't see it that way. They mistake a Sigma male. This is exactly true, according to former FBI Special Agent Jack Shaper. She seems like a sudden snap, but in truth, something far more intentional has changed. Once his kindness is betrayed or taken for granted, a line has been crossed that cannot be uncrossed. Frequently, he doesn't just become angry, instead, he completely reevaluates his interactions with the outside world. This shift isn't about becoming mean. Rather, it's about taking off the mask of politeness that prevented others from seeing his true strength. Imagine a master martial artist who avoids fights not out of fear but because he is aware of his own strength. What happens when he finally decides to stop holding back? That's the kind of change we're discussing. Let's examine 6 possible outcomes when a Sigma male stops being kind and why this change frequently takes people by surprise. First of all, he has zero tolerance for games. Imagine a Sigma guy as a deep, tranquil ocean that doesn't seek conflict or need to prove himself. However, don't mistake his peacefulness for weakness. Behind that surface is a power you don't want to awaken. In his book 12 Rules for Life, Jordan Peterson discusses the value of establishing boundaries. He advises against allowing others to do things to you that you find objectionable. But here's the catch. Every time someone treats him disrespectfully, manipulates him, or takes him for granted, they erode his patience until one day the line is crossed. Perhaps it's the friend who constantly makes fun of him in front of others, the coworker who steals his ideas, or the partner who uses mind games to manipulate them. The Sigma male departs by this rule because he's kind, not because he's weak, but because he chooses to be. Instead of exploding, screaming, or losing his temper, the Sigma man becomes quiet and his energy changes. You can sense the calm before a storm in the atmosphere. People frequently confuse kindness for cavity, believing they can push and push without repercussions, but when a Sigma stops being nice, it's a wake-up call. His kindness was a weakness. It was a choice. And now he's choosing to take it back. This is the point at which everything changes, and the jokes stop, according to Dr. Romania Dracula, a clinical psychologist and expert on toxic behavior. The guilt trips and explanations cease working. It's not rage, it's apathy. The games are over, the Sigma male has moved on, and everyone else is left standing there wondering what just happened. The Sigma male doesn't waste time explaining himself. He just leaves the game. And that's when people realize they messed up the calm ocean they took for granted. It's gone, and all that's left is a quiet, unwavering force that doesn't look back. Second place, the last signal that most people overlook is that a Sigma male's loss of kindness doesn't happen suddenly. There is always a time, a last caution that the majority of miss. It's subtle, like a soft touch on the shoulder before the door slams, and neither dramatic nor loud. Relationship researcher John Gottman refers to these instances as attempts for connection. People use subtle cues to convey vital information to the Sigma male. This last warning may be a prepared remark, a straightforward inquiry, or simply a prolonged period of silence. It's his way of saying, "This is your final opportunity. Please don't press me anymore." But here's the issue: most people don't take it seriously since they're so used to his generosity that they think he'll simply overlook it once again and fail to see that this is different. This isn't him being kind, rather, he's being straightforward. For instance, consider a buddy who persistently requests money and always swears to repay it, but the Sigma guy never does. May give him money a few times out of generosity, but after being taken advantage of time and time again, he chooses to stop. He doesn't explain why, but his buddy keeps attempting to get in touch with him in the hopes that he would ultimately give in. People frequently disregard these warnings because they're accustomed to getting away with bad behavior and believe the Sigma male will continue to forgive them, but when he stops being nice, it's not because he's upset. Rather, it's because he's finished wasting energy on people who don't value him. That's when it hits them. The final warning wasn't a joke or a bluff. It was the last thread holding everything together, and once it's gone, there's no turning back. Robert Glover, author of No More Mr. Nice Guy. Do you recall playing with a magnet as a child and how it could suddenly flip and push away what it once attracted? That's what happens when a Sigma male stops being nice. The Sigma male doesn't argue or explain. Instead, he simply walks away, leaving everyone else to wonder why they didn't listen when they had the chance. Number 3. The power shift. This is how Dr. Leonard Saxes describes it. When someone who is naturally powerful stops accommodating others, it's like gravity abruptly changing direction. Before people grew accustomed to his flexibility, they would push boundaries, make demands, and expect him to adjust, which he frequently did because he was choosing to be kind. Everything that was functional before stops functioning. The individual who used to request favors now receives a straightforward no. The person who used guilt trips discovers that their words are like elastic bands. The great shock comes to those who never anticipated opposition. They use their typical strategies. The buddy who always needs one more favor suddenly finds themselves speaking to a wall. It's like seeing someone struggle to push a rock uphill. Nothing moves despite the pleas, pressure, and promises, and this isn't about getting even or being cruel. Number 4. Respect becomes non-negotiable because the Sigma man isn't attempting to harm anybody. He's simply stopped allowing others to dictate the situation, and that simple change in power leaves everyone else rushing to find out the new rules of a game they weren't even aware they were planning. Most people learn to compromise and bargain in order to accept good enough, but when a Sigma guy quits being polite, respect becomes as unavoidable as gravity. There is a significant difference between asking for and demanding respect. People often push boundaries with little disrespectful actions. When a Sigma establishes his new line, these little tests hit a steel wall. You can see it in simple actions. Someone makes a disrespectful remark, and instead of ignoring it, he calmly calls it out. A friend talks behind his back, and instead of becoming upset, he simply stops talking to them. This has nothing to do with being rude or demanding, requesting preferential treatment, or attempting to exert control over others. Rather, he just ceased tolerating anything less than fundamental decency, such as a business with a no shirt, no service sign that states that the rules are unambiguous and non-negotiable. The fact that this criterion applies to everyone equally, including intimate friends, family, employers, and others, really confuses people. No one gets a pass anymore. The Sigma male treats disrespect like touching a hot stove. He just takes his hand off it and never touches it again because, once he stops being kind, respect isn't something that can be gained or bargained for. It's the price of being in his life. Number 5. Hollow promises go blank stares. We've all heard them. I'll do better next time. This won't happen again. Just give me another chance. Famous poker champion Doyle Brunson recently said something brilliant about bluffs. Once you spot someone's tell, their words become meaningless. This is exactly what occurs when a Sigma no longer accepts. Here's how it goes. The standard, "I'm sorry," speech begins, but instead of nodding along, he simply observes, not angry or irritated, like someone who has seen the same magic trick too often to be duped again. This composed observation leads to a promise. Breakers are extremely uncomfortable because they're used to people either fighting back or giving in, but a Sigma who has finished being nice just looks at them with eyes that say, "I've seen this show before." The really interesting part is what happens next. They then try harder to make bigger promises and add more dramatic effects, but it's like trying to sell ice to an Eskimo who has already seen through the sales page, because once a Sigma male stops being nice, all those promises that worked like a charm before now just echo in empty air while he watches actions. Instead, imagine it as a movie you've seen too many times, where you know every plot twist is coming and none of the dramatic moments hit the same. Have you ever noticed that particular animals slowly back off before hitting? According to psychologist and cool-headed, cautious, strategic combat veteran Dave German, a person creates distance when he quits being nice. The most deadly predators make room to see the whole battlefield rather than charging in. This is precisely how a Sigma guy responds to circumstances. He's not playing hard to get or trying to teach anyone a lesson. Instead, he's quietly redrawing his boundaries to create space between himself and those who took advantage. While others might distance themselves to make a point or seek attention, he does it like a chess player removing pieces from the board. Each move has a purpose, every step back is carefully planned, and the change hits harder because it's permanent. Once his nice sky switch flips off, it begins subtly, conversations become shorter, response times lengthen, and his availability decreases. When a Sigma guy quits being pleasant distance, it's not simply for face, it's for protection, and unlike emotional distance that results from pain, this strategic distance isn't about fleeing. Rather, it's about establishing a clear understanding of who should be near and who should keep a safe distance. Clarity is the source of retreat. Thank you for watching, and as always, stay intelligent, stay self-sufficient, and keep developing. Please click the like button. Subscribe for more in-depth information about the Sigma mindset, and share your thoughts in the comments section below if this video spoke to you. I read them all.